when we're doing this, I want you to look at this, and you're going to be able to look and determine that one side of this has odd numbers and the other one has even numbers. Okay, pick up your syringe and look at it. Each one of those little tick marks is in this one is 1 unit. Okay, so if you look, it's going to go, there'll be a line that says 0. Then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's what you're going to have to do as you're trying to get the right amount. Okay, is to go through all that. All right, if you look at your insulin, there's different insulins up here. This one says regular. There's one that says NPH. Does that one say NPH? And then there's one that says Lispro. Okay, so if you notice, each one of these say insulin on it, but something in front of it. That is why not only do you have to have somebody verify how much you're given, what type insulin. So you have to show them which vial you have drawn it from, so that they make sure that they've got the right, that you've gotten the right thing. Give too much or too little, somebody's blood sugar will be too high, too low, and they can die from either one. Okay, so it's very important, and that's why we do all this monitoring. All right, so when I have this, and I've got checked my order, I've done my rights. What I'm looking at is I've got the right insulin, and I know this says Nuvane, but I'm just going to pretend right now. I didn't have enough insulin. I clean this, and then I let it sit there to dry. I'd look at this. Now, y'all just watch me, and then we're going to go through and I'll let y'all do it. I'm going to give 10 units, okay? So I've got it set at 10 units. So this right here, I want to make sure that I hold on to this cap part down here. This is my safety. We talked about safety needles. This is one of the ones that's safety. If I don't, it's going to pull up here and it's going to lock it in, and I can't use it because I can't change the needle on these. If you don't go in at a 90-degree angle, do you see what happened with that one? So as you're injecting it in or putting it in here, if it's not straight, what happens is it goes sideways, and these are so small that they'll get bent, and then you can't use it for a patient. So that is important. If you go, these caps sometimes get a little stuck on here. When you do it, if you'll hold the syringe and the safety part and pull that off, that will make it to where it won't activate this. That's how it activates. It has to go all the way up and snap, and that means it's activated and it can't be brought back down. That one didn't go. So I have my 10. I've already done this. So I sit there and I go in at my 90 degrees, and then I inject my air and I come up. Now then, y'all want to know how to hold this. You can hold it this way. I hold this way. Okay. The reason I hold that way is I can see the medicine. I can see its consistency, and I can see, and I just turn this to where I can see my numbers, and then I've got my fingers here to actually sit there and pull this down. Okay. So that's why, because remember, I don't want to touch in there because it will contaminate it. I always draw down extra insulin in case I have, and there's usually bubbles in it, and I just go back up to the level that I want it to be. These are flat, the plungers are flat. I take this out. Now, this is the only time you can recap, okay? Because we've got to recap it to get it in the patient's room. You will still fail checkoffs if you take it and scoop and cap it with both hands. It must be able to scoop down, and like I said, sometimes chase it around, and then you got it. Secure it on. Now, this is when I would come up and go, 10 units of Humalog, or I would say 10 units or whatever. So I show it to the person so that they can see it. Then I'm ready to go give it. Go to the patient's room. I've got the MAR, wash my hands. I've checked all my rights, and I'm ready to give. I've got my gloves on. I'm ready to give my injection. Take my alcohol. Now, if I do this, I consider that pinching an inch. I don't want my fingers any closer than that. I can make that go up to 2 inches, but look how close my fingers are to each other. Okay, so that's dangerous. That's how we stick ourselves. So it's one of those is I have this and I stick, and then I can go ahead and start cleaning. And then I'm going to let that dry. Okay. While that's drying, I'll make sure that I've got this. I've got it. Now, if you look, it's very hard to see the bevel. Very, very hard to see the bevel to make sure the bevel is up. Okay. Now then, if I'm giving a shot and I'm giving it down here, I may take it and hold it in this angle to give it. But if I'm giving it in the stomach and if I'm giving it the upper arm, I give it and this angle right here, okay? The reason I do, and I hold it kind of like a pencil, and I put 2 fingers here, because I want to be able to give the shot and then hold it still and only have to move this 1 finger to give the injection. Never give an injection with your finger on or thumb on the plunger, because that will sit there and you'll wind up injecting before you ever get to where you want it to be. Understand? So anyway, so I've got my gloves on. I've pinched, I had my sight, I make sure my bevel's up. Do not do like that. That's very painful to go in slowly, okay? So you just sit there, and this is a little, it's not as tough as human skin, but just get used to dart, okay?
And from about a 1/2 inch, 5/8 inch, up to even 3.
Okay, and see how it's shooting out back at me? Because I've been using this a lot, and it's only because it's these things, okay? So don't get all upset when it's doing it. That was the right technique, but you need to see that with these, they will do it. It's just working on getting that technique. If I'm giving it, like if I'm giving it this angle, I never want to sit there and if I'm doing this, go over my own hand. If I'm giving it in an arm, then I have it my hand like this. You just don't want to, because when you go to the dart, you don't want to dart your finger. Okay? Not good. Not good. So you want it, that's why you saw me going in at this angle. If it was the arm and I was doing it, it would be at this angle. And so that's what you need to look at. All right? Okay. So when we're done, you can just do it that much just to get used to activating. But don't activate it till you're all the way done so that you can practice again. Okay? All right, so what we have is 12,